Guys, today we are going to go through the numbers and really show you kind of where we were going into this, where we are right now as we're kind of heading out of this, and where we may be headed going into the future, some things that we're seeing. I got the Oracle of Beach Properties of Florida, my man Price Rayner, with me. He's going to be breaking this down for you. All right, there's a lot of news out there, a lot of opinions out there, but there's not a lot of facts. And so what we want to do today is we don't want to bring you good news or bad news. What we want to do is we want to bring you the news, what's really happening. And, you know, the numbers don't lie. So what we really want to do, Price, I think today is let's talk about kind of first quarter, year over year, kind of, you know, the number of contracts. And let's specifically talk, because I think this is a good resemblance of kind of what's happening in other markets. Let's specifically talk about the South Walton market, the 30A market in particular, because in reality, it's going to be a snapshot of Destin, of Miramar, of Panama City. We can go into those numbers if somebody wants them individually, but let's go through the numbers there because it'll kind of show that. Let's talk about first quarter, year over year. What would you see transaction-wise and maybe some strength we were seeing?
Sure. First quarter of 2020 was remarkably strong. I mean, so strong. We saw each month, I think January was about just a tick under 12% over January 19.
Transaction-wise?
Transactions, and that's section 17 and 18. That's from one end of 38 to the other, right. 98 south, and includes origins as well. In February 19, we had 61 sales. In February of 2020, we had 78 sales. So that was up 27, almost 28% month over month, year over year, month over month. And then for March, we were at 81 in 2019. 2020, 106 sales.
And that was even with some of the sales at the end of the month that were kicked back or delayed.
Kicked out or fell out. So we were up just a tick over 30% month over month, year over year for that. And taking those 3 months and averaging them together, we were up 24.25% first quarter 2020 over first quarter 19. Really strong numbers there, as it relates to the year over year data.
Shows some balance in the market too. I mean, when you've got that number of transactions, you've got sellers and buyers at a place where they're kind of agreeing on some values, right?
Definitely, no doubt about it.
So we see that happening there. That's where we were. Just could not possibly potentially have had more strength in numbers going into what we came into.
Well, those months, when you look at those 3 months and take them in particular and look at detached single-family homes going back to the year 2000, each January, each February, and each March individually, each of those months in 2020 were record months. The strongest January we've ever had, the strongest February, and the strongest March.
So there was no doubt. Obviously, the momentum was, and it looked like it was building. I mean, each month we were getting more and more, and we were growing the percentage of year over month. Those comparisons.
There's no doubt, and that started really in the middle part of 2019. Our market really started to break out. We saw some real strength, high demand there. We started to see pricing break out too, which was an interesting fact as well.
We haven't even talked about this, but in reality, when you have that type of really accelerated growth, it can almost get to a point where it's not as healthy. Right. Obviously we've got people suffering. This is not what we wanted, but in reality, for the market to have a little bit of a pause, long term, it's kind of could have been healthy.
Very healthy. We really needed that. We were really starting to, it was getting really strong, and I think what's happened is going to help us long term.
So let's talk about, we were talking about where we were. Let's talk about kind of in the middle of this. Here we are, hopefully on the backside of this, at least what pending contracts, new pending contracts, it looks that way. Where are we right now? What are you seeing right now?
Well, we're wrapping up April, so all the sales aren't in MLS yet, but a majority of them are. And we're looking at, if I forecast, look at the pending, say a majority of those close and a few push that were scheduled to close yesterday that haven't been shown there. I think we're going to be very close to flat or just a little bit down for the month of April.
Year over year.
Year over year, where back 5 weeks ago when I did my first analysis, I was predicting us to be at least or at best 50% down. So I'm very surprised by the amount of strength I've seen in the market that we're going to be flat to slightly down for April. That shows that we've had a lot of activity in the last 2 or 3 weeks, which I think is indicative in what we're seeing, hearing from our agents and seeing in pendings as well.
It's pretty telling also. I mean, you
Sure
got to
is.
consider, I mean, this beach was closed. I mean, today's the first day it's open when we're shooting this. I mean, we had beaches closed. We literally had I-10, them stopping people coming into the state to take their temperature and, check and see where they're going.
That's right.
No short-term rentals. I mean, Seaside closed. Basically, the entire market was shut down, yet we're still seeing relatively almost flat on the number of transactions year over year.
That's right. That's very telling.
Very telling because, I mean, it was almost like everything that could have possibly been done to slow the momentum was done.
People fought through that to still get here and buy property.
Right. Absolutely. I know. Yeah.
So
let's talk about that. I mean, because that's an interesting point. If we've seen relatively flat through now, what are we looking like as far as things we're seeing from and hearing from agents, pending contracts that are set up for May and June? What do those numbers look like?
Well, I mean, we're looking today. We have 176 pending contracts going forward. That's really strong. And then, in addition, as you know, I mean, it's just remarkable to me the amount of activity that our agents are having in the market right now. Everyone that I talk to that is out working and hasn't furloughed themselves are having success. I mean, we're doing deals. I'm really amazed by the amount of activity in the market right now, and that makes me very optimistic as to what the next few months look like. I have taken our pending contracts to date and recalibrated my forecast for May and June, and both of those, from where I was 5 weeks ago, I've doubled the amount of action that I think market action will see based on the increase of activity we've had. It's just
and it's
great
across the market. I know when we've had the first bit of pause, when we had that 1 week where we had 5 contracts go pending, where it was just like everybody's trying to figure this out. It was very low end price, mostly primary residence stuff. We've seen an acceleration on the higher end, middle pricing range, and I mean, it's market wide. We're seeing that acceleration right now.
Yeah, it is, and it's one of the things that we had thought might happen is we might see some flight from metropolitan areas to 30A and the Emerald Coast and points east and west, and that's becoming a reality.
Yeah.
We're seeing that now. I can't tell you how many folks I have myself talked to from Chicago, from New York, that are coming here, interested in this area, plan a trip here, and are either actively pursuing a purchase now or plan to do so in the very near future.
Right. Yeah. It's just become everything. I mean, come on. I mean, this is, I mean, how are we going to keep them from coming, right?
Right.
I mean, in reality, the things that were driving people here before, sense of community, gorgeous beaches, open spaces, less density. Man, now more than ever, it is more, it's more attractive than it ever has been. Great schools. All of a sudden now, maybe people have the ability to work and commute or work from home or remotely. All of a sudden now, if they've got a choice, I mean, where are you going to choose,
No, you're absolutely right. And something that I find that's particularly interesting in that is there is so much demand that we're seeing here. And one of the things that I have heard from so many people I've spoken to, they've said, hey, Price, when you see a little weakness, some softness, let me know, we're ready to jump in. And it is flipping it. When I go back and I look at that first quarter 19 over first quarter 2020, you see price increase 12.5%, roughly. So that's a significant increase in the average price. Then when I look at April closings, and I look at April as it relates to that first quarter, the pricing in April on average has gone up 2.5% in that month. So our average pricing the first quarter of 2020 was $1.3 million and change. For April, it's $1.33 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just showing. So what that tells me is those people that are sitting on the sidelines waiting, hoping there may be a dip. You folks may need to tell your people it's time to giddy up.
Yeah.
Because they may need to come now, because if this demand continues, the opportunity, if any, may be very short to get things before we see prices really accelerate.